Hello and welcome to the Overland Journal podcast. I am your host, Scott Brady, and my co-host, Matt Scott, is also with me today at the Overland Expo in Flagstaff. And we spend time interviewing Clay Croft. Clay's been on the podcast several times, and he's always a joy to have because he has so many insights on these incredible expeditions that he's conducted around the world. We go into a deep dive on his trip, the Nordic series that has taken him through Norway and many parts of Scandinavia, the Faroe Islands, and ultimately into Iceland. That series is just wrapping up. We learned about the things that worked well and didn't work so well, some of his lessons that he took away from the expedition. And then we also do a big discussion around his next trip. So we kind of announce his Africa expedition that's coming up, where he's going to be taking a Sequoia and a couple other vehicles, and they're going to be traveling around southern Africa. We have a great conversation with Clay. He always has tons of insights on vehicle preparation, expeditions, and just traveling as a family. So please enjoy our conversation with Clay Croft. And a special thanks to Rocky Talkies for their support of this week's podcast. Rocky Talkies are backcountry radios designed by a small team in Denver. The radios are extremely rugged, easy to use, and compact, weighing in at just under 8 ounces. They have a range of 1 to 5 miles in the mountains and up to 25 miles line of sight. The batteries will last from 3 to 5 days, and you can recharge them easily via USB-C right in the vehicle. Our team uses Rocky Talkies, and we also used them recently at the Overland Expo. The next Overland Expo, stop into our booth and say hello and check out the radios for yourself. And as a listener of the Overland Journal podcast, you can get 10% off a pair by going to rockytalkie.com/Overland Journal. Thanks again, Rocky Talkie.
So guys, we're here with Clay Croft from Expedition Overland, and we're going to talk about the Nordic series that is now completely out on the Overlander network.
Yep.
And we're also going to dive into what's next for
right.
the Expedition Overland crew.
Mm-hmm.
Clay, thanks so much, as always, for being on the podcast.
Heck
man. You're such a great guest and such a wonderful friend. It's been so good for us to all experience this together. And you guys are at close to 15 years, aren't you?
Yeah, let's see. This is 14 years.
Yeah.
Right now.
And
yeah.
we just celebrated 20 years
Wow.
in February.
Man,
So
congratulations.
It's just unbelievable. Well, just now it just makes me feel old. So,
and it makes you realize how short life is.
Yeah.
Like it is just going by fast.
yeah.
So, yeah.
To think that, Expeditions West started 20 years ago.
A major
That's
inspiration
that's
of
a
mine.
long- oh, thank you.
Mine
Yeah.
too, yeah.
My
So
overloaded
crazy.
Tacoma.
Yeah. Which is okay.
I know.
It-
It worked out. The thing didn't care.
Yeah.
So-
And here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Here you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
Awesome. Well, we would love to talk to you about your Nordic series, but more about what were the highlights? What were the places that you went that you would recommend those that are listening consider going to?
Yeah. So we did, I'll just give you an overview of what the trip was like. So we left, we got there in late July and worked all the way through almost October 1st. So we were gone for, I think the total time was 59 days and 12 hours, something like that, of traveling. And we shipped into Belgium, and then we drove north to Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Faroe Island, back to Denmark, onto the Faroe Islands,
Yeah, I'm
and
so
then into
glad you
Iceland.
got a chance to do the Faroe Island.
Man, that was very
I'm
special.
super excited for the Faroe Islands.
Yeah.
That's the episode I haven't seen
So
yet.
It's going to be the next Iceland for a lot of people, I think.
yeah.
But it's not that big, right?
It's super small.
I've had so many friends that have watched the series, and they're like, hey, Matt, let's go to the Faroe Islands. I want to go. When are we going?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. I ran into one guy who had been there for 2.5 weeks, and he's like, yeah, I'm ready to leave.
Yeah.
But
And there are people that live there full time.
oh yeah, there's
Like,
what
that is
an
a very
amazing
small
place
island.
to go to,
Yeah.
because their government's been in place for 1,000 years. They have, it's a what would you say, like a microclimate, but like a
Microculture almost.
microculture.
Yeah.
So, and it's divided up by the villages over the hill. So they would have to, back in the day, have to have people go to the next village over to get married.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like
Oh,
a
'cause it's
big
such
deal.
A small population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An amazing place, and the
'cause
people were
otherwise you end up with
fantastic.
kids with 3 eyes and stuff.
Yeah,
They're not careful.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they've had kings and all kinds of stuff. It is an amazing place.
And
So,
now it's a territory of Denmark, right? Or are they?
that's a
their
good
own-
question. Yes, you're right.
They're their own little.
I think you're right.
Their own little
I
thing.
should know that. I've been there, but yeah,
We'll put
They
that.
are,
on
I think, it's
yeah.
I think it's another one of their autonomous,
yeah,
kind of like Greenland is, where it's they get help
Yep.
from
That
a
is correct.
a
It's all
larger country,
spooling up.
but they're a little more autonomous.
yeah, yeah. And they've been autonomous. They're, I guess, I mean, for centuries. So there is a bit of a contesting to all of that, you
Yeah.
know, due to their freedoms and stuff. It's very interesting to hear all of the political, I guess, ideologies that were going on with how it all works, because there's great blessings from it, and then there's struggles too.
Yeah.
In a very, very small place. Like you
Yeah.
can drive anywhere within 2 hours.
Yeah. Sure.
Like you cross the island back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all the
Yeah.
time. It's no big deal.
And what was the primary language spoken there?
Faroese.
Faroese.
Yeah.
I did not
Which
know
is
that
a-
was a thing.
I did not
It's
either.
a dialect of the Vikings.
Okay.
And Faroese can understand Icelandics, and they can also understand a bit of Danish
Oh, sure.
with their language.
Yeah.
But Icelandics cannot understand Danish.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they're right in the middle of this.
Got it.
So as you know, the adventurers, the explorers, the Vikings moved their way across the ocean there. They hit the Faroes first. Shetland Islands, Faroes, then on to the Iceland. And it just developed this amazing language.
Wow.
So
Do they
Yeah, it's
also
really
speak
fun to listen to.
annoyingly good English?
it's amazing.
Yeah, like there's a saying in Iceland that says the trash truck driver speaks English. I mean, and they do.
It's true.
The other thing that I find totally fascinating about there's many things to be fascinated about the Icelandic people, but that they have like a 97% literacy rate, which is the highest in the world. Like they have, like it would have to be developmentally disabled individual that was not literate. So everyone is literate.
Yeah.
That can be.
Iceland is an amazing place. It's the first time. Well, I was there for like 2 days on our way to Greenland that one time.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
I stayed in a hotel and I slept and I made sure that I was ready to go for the Greenland expedition.
that's
You know,
right.
I wasn't doing anything else. I didn't travel.
Yeah.
So this was really my first time to go there and experience it, and I'm blown away. I can't wait to go back to Iceland. You could spend a lot of time.
Yeah, and
in
it
Iceland.
looks on a map, it looks very small, but if you want to go into the interior, you're not going any place quickly.
Nope.
You're pretty much, other than there are a few roads that go into the interior, like into Thingvellir and those areas, but if you want to go into the interior, you're on dirt.
You're on dirt the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do need a proper 4-wheel drive to get in there. You can risk it. I mean, the Jimny is like the
Yeah.
bottom baseline car that you could use, and even then, there's several places that Jimneys were having to turn around and not be.
And
able
it's
to go
mostly
where
the
we
water
went.
crossings.
Yeah.
It
the,
is.
The
yeah.
Jimneys are just even though
They're
they're very
Lido.
Yeah.
they're very
Just
capable,
small.
but they would get swept away easily.
Yeah,
And,
there's some deep stuff there.
and a lot of people don't know this, but when you sign your rental agreement in Iceland, if you ford a river and you lose the car, you are not covered.
It's on you.
It's on you. And it's only specific to, like, you can try to climb up a glacier, you can do all the other stuff, but if you try to cross a river in Iceland and you lose the car in the river, it's on you.
Wow.
Always walk
Well-
your water crossings.
Yeah. We helped turn a couple people around, like, you should not do this.
Yeah.
You know, like, here comes a Hilux, like Torfy
Yeah.
Johansson. And then he was with us for a time on 44-inch tires, 6-inch lift. He'd drive across that, and you see this big truck come across the river crossing, and then the guy across the way was like, maybe I could do that too. You're like, no. And
This is a totally different thing.
yeah, that the door handle is at your shoulder on that truck. Don't drive your Jimny in there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I guess since we're on Iceland, what was your couple kind of most favorite moments in Iceland?
Let's see. I loved learning how to travel Iceland. So you don't just pick you could just pick the destinations that you want to go to and just systematically hit them. But there's a game you play in Iceland, and it's all based around the weather. So the weather is in its own microclimate, very different from one side of the island to the other, and to the north and to the south. And so you're constantly monitoring what's happening, and you're racing towards the good weather. Because you can be a nice sunny spot in this little canyon in this little nook of Iceland, and the rest of it is rained out.
Yeah, sure.
So you're just chasing the good weather, and that's what we did. That's what Porfi taught us to do. And we were there for 3 weeks, and I think we maybe had 5 days of rain.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's unheard of.
Yeah, sure.
And also, back to the Faroes real quick. We were there for 6.5 days.
Because you waited for the next ferry.
Yeah, that only
You got
comes
off.
once.
Yeah, that's right.
And
once a week.
They have like 340 days of rain a year.
Oh,
Yeah. So what we got there was like unreal.
Yeah.
It was
So you got
it was
sunshine in the
divine
Faroes.
Yeah,
that
wow.
we were there for 6 days and only had one night of rain.
Wow.
It was spectacular.
and what month were you there?
That was September.
September. And is that typical for September? Like,
Like,
is
is
like
that your-
that's
is
your
that your
best
best
chance?
chance?
I don't know. That's a good.
Oh, it's if it's 300 and what? You said 340?
Yeah, it's like
Oh, yeah.
crazy
I mean-
high.
Yeah.
And there was rain throughout, but it would like come and go and it'd be gone, But we had sun.
Yeah. So I mean, while we're on the Faroes, I mean, it is an accomplishment to get a vehicle there. You have to get
Yeah.
if you're gonna ship your vehicle from America or wherever, it has to go to mainland Europe, and then do you leave out of the Netherlands or do you leave
Yeah.
out of Denmark?
Leave out of Hirtshals, Denmark,
Okay.
and then it's a ferry that takes you to Iceland.
And what's the
then so
name
you
of
can-
that line? But do you think it's worth, like, for Americans that want to see the Faroe Islands? Like, can you just rent cars there?
Yeah. So I mean, if you really want to just go see the Faroe Islands, the way to get there would be to fly into them, rent a car.
Yeah.
Once you have a car in the Faroes, they're not really built for eco travel or vehicle based travel.
Yeah.
There's like we were camping on soccer fields and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just there
Charming.
is a camper van presence there, but they were also parked on the soccer field. So there's just they're very new to tourism. 10 years really is all they've been open for this. So rent a house, rent a car, and
So I guess since it's so small.
and just travel around and go see
Yeah.
it.
But if you already have your vehicle there, it sounds like it's definitely doable.
It's totally doable.
Yeah, and it's a stop along the ferry route.
It is worth it. It is worth it.
Yeah. And then how long did that ferry take from Denmark to the Faroes?
That was 2 nights.
2 nights. Okay. So, I mean, and you're primarily going, what, northwest? Northwest?
North. It's more like west northwest.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, the seas were good. It wasn't anything to shake a stick at, as you'd
Was
say.
it pretty full? Was the ferry pretty full?
It was. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
And they're only running one, and they used to run it more. So, but I think it's ramping up now.
Yeah.
Post COVID, things are still
Yeah, sure.
turning back on. And a lot of people will stop there for just the afternoon while the boat's there. It's called the Norona.
Norona. Yeah, MV Norona. I think
Yep.
I looked at that, yeah.
And great ship to travel on. It's the nicest ferry I've ever been on. Like it beats the Alaska Maritime Highway. It's like twice as nice as that.
Wow.
It was awesome.
So you have your own little stateroom, and yeah, nice.
Yeah, and I don't think you can camp on it. It's not like the Alaska Highway where you can camp on the deck or anything like
Yeah,
that. No,
yeah,
this is just
it's
this is
a
huge
boat.
open water and you're
Yeah.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So, I think one of the things I've learned from my travels, and not necessarily Faroe Islands and Iceland or whatever, Nordic countries are very, very expensive.
Yes.
So, what was it like when you were on the Faroe Islands? Obviously, it's so remote; everything has to come in by boat or by plane. Was fuel available? Insanely expensive?
It didn't seem. I don't remember the exact prices, but it didn't seem to be any more than like what it was in Iceland, or because they're using all the same.
Yeah, it's just a
shipping lanes.
stopover.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the Faroes run off of diesel. That's how they power their islands. So
I guess with that much,
there's diesel coming in like crazy.
yeah,
there's
and
fuel coming in that place all
there's
the
no real reality of solar or
No.
anything like that.
time. And wind. They're in a Mediterranean. What is it? It's just can't think of these words today. But,
Yeah,
the it's a
Köppen
very
climate
microclimate.
classification.
Whoa.
That's what they're called. I mean, I don't know what it is. Facts with Matt.
Yeah. Impressed me. But they have to run on.
Yeah.
They do have like hydropower systems, but it's mostly
Yeah.
like 80% of their electricity comes from generators.
Whereas Iceland is able to generate so much power from all the
All thermal.
effects.
Yeah, really fascinating.
Yeah.
And then how many days was the ferry from the Faroes to Iceland?
So that's just an overnight. So you get on in the morning, and then you're on it throughout the day, then overnight, and then by morning, about 8 a.m., you were arriving in Iceland.
Yeah,
So
and where
that's
did it
much
come in?
shorter.
Where did it come into?
Ooh. Sydvirgudensonsfjord. The words are hard.
But it comes in, does it come in on the eastern side of the country?
It comes in on the northeastern side.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we had Ashley fly in
Yeah.
and our guy Tanner, and they flew into Reykjavik and then took us a puddle jumper over the top of the island to meet us up there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we started up there.
And then in Iceland, did you kind of do the whole ring road around, or?
We did. In Iceland, there's a road called, is it the One?
Yeah.
I think they call it the One, but it's the ring road, and it was built in the 90s. It hasn't been
So
around
it's
for
pretty
that long.
recent.
Yeah.
And it circumnavigates, kind of goes all the way around the island, and you can drive it in like what, 12 hours, 18 hours.
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
I took almost a week to go around it.
Yeah, if you're
but I was
like if you're
actually
just a
enjoying
motor,
myself.
it's
Probably.
yeah,
Yeah, probably.
and it's 2-lane.
Yep.
It's all the way around the island, and then so you can picture it. There's this pavement road that goes all the way around the island, and then that's kind of your access point. And from there, you can go in to the F roads, which ultimately is shorthand for mountain roads, and then you go travel the inland, and that's where all of like the really amazing stuff is, away from all the people. Everyone stays on the ring road, but if you want to like go have your experience in Iceland by yourself, you got to get into the interior.
And then on the glaciers, if you can. Did you guys get a chance to do any glacial travel?
We didn't. I vowed to come back and do some of that.
Yeah, I think it'd be
I'll
worth
go.
it.
So it would be amazing. So what's really cool about Iceland is in the summer they have very strict travel restrictions on their F roads. Like if you travel off the F road, it's like a $2,000 or $5,000 fine. It's rightly so, because the amount of rental cars and people that are just driving around this place, it has to be very strict.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's kept it pristine. And you can tell where back in the day when other people were just allowed to drive anywhere through, because it's just all lava gravel fields.
Yeah.
There's road tracks that are 20 years old that are still seen in the
Yeah.
landscape. So you can see why they did it. But then come winter, as soon as you can turn a tire without disturbing the surface, pretty much the whole interior of Iceland becomes free
That's
game.
right.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
very
cool.
Which is
fun.
awesome. Hence why everybody's got the big tires.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from. It's not during the summer, it's for the winter, for the flotation, so they can explore the whole island. And then that's when we should get up into the glaciers.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. And spring is a great time because you start to get light, but there's so much snow still on the interior that you can travel anywhere you want. And then it still gets just dark enough at night that you can still see the aurora.
Ooh.
So I find that, in fact, I've only traveled in Iceland in the spring. So once in January and then 2 other times in early spring. And that's when you can cross the glaciers. The glaciers are still firm enough. The nights are cold enough where you're not getting the really slushy snow. Yeah, and you can go across Vatnajökull, which takes days to cross it.
Yeah.
It's the biggest glacier in all of Europe.
Yeah, it's 3,000 square miles.
Yeah,
It's huge.
yeah, it's huge.
Hot dang.
Yeah. And we learned that from our trips in Greenland. That time of year, the snow has been the deepest. It's been allowed to accumulate throughout the whole winter. And then, it's cold enough that it's all firm. It's the safest time to be there.
Yep.
We should make a plan to get out there sometime.
Yeah.
March is my birthday.
Well, let's do it. Let's do
Sounds-
this for your birthday.
That's a perfect birthday gift for Matt. I love it. I love it. Totally love it. Now, Iceland's very special.
Yeah.
And even the cities are great. Like, did you guys spend some time in Akureyri in the north? And
We didn't. We were, we had limited time shooting the best movie we possibly could. So
Sure.
we were really out there as much as possible.
Sure. Remote.
Out remote, which is where we wanted to be, because we had just been in mainland Europe,
Sure.
in Scandinavia there, and in the Nordic countries, and so it was a juxtaposing location, because you went from a very, very populated, very tame
Yeah.
place of Europe, and then we were like all itching to be out in the middle of nowhere with nobody around.
Sure.
Yeah.
By the time 5 weeks in,
Yeah, totally.
but that's not to say that the first half of the trip in mainland Scandinavia wasn't awesome. It was fantastic. Like, I would go back and travel there any day, anytime. My favorite place was probably Norway. Mm-hmm. Just being able to travel Norway
Just beautiful.
is unreal.
Yeah,
it is
just beautiful.
unreal.
Yeah.
So,
And even though you can't really off-road there, in fact, they have very strict rules around it, you almost don't need to, because it's so beautiful.
I felt the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything is spectacular.
Yeah.
So, Sweden, we didn't spend a lot more time in Sweden. I kind of wrote off Sweden a little bit when we were traveling the Trans-European Trail, which is really, I've had discussions with that organization since, by the way, and we just need to specify that that's really for two-wheel track. We utilized, the roads that we used are the roads that everyone uses to get to their houses and their log cabins and stuff, because it's all full of, everybody has their cabin on the lake, because there's 10,000 lakes inside Sweden and Finland.
That's why all the Swedes moved to Minnesota.
That's like home.
Felt like home.
Yeah. So we utilized that place, but it wasn't until we got into lower southern Sweden that I was like, oh, okay. I feel like I missed out on something here. I need to go back and check this out. There's more to it here.
And there is definitely off-highway travel available in Finland.
Yeah.
And did you guys get a chance to do some
We did
four-wheel driving there?
We did. Yeah, we did some. We traveled along the Russian border for a while of Finland.
Yeah.
Which is really fun and exciting and just interesting, especially due to current, political scenarios going on around the world, and just to hear all kinds of different perspectives and be along the Russian border at the same time all this stuff was happening.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
One of the things that I remember is I was middle of nowhere in Finland, and I'm driving along this 2-lane road, and then all of a sudden it became like an 8-lane highway for like 10 miles, maybe 5 miles, and then it went back to a 2-lane road, and I'm like, I researched it because it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And I researched it, and those are like improvised runways.
Oh.
Gotcha.
So they just use the road, and then they just create this huge concrete
I've
runway.
seen that in Australia and in Africa before.
So but it's there for defense,
Okay.
because it was fairly close to the Russian border.
Yeah.
I also
didn't come across one of
wonder
those.
for planes that now fly over the poles, if that's also part of an emergency runway.
Oh, it could
thing,
be.
too.
Yeah, it could be.
It could be defense first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we traveled all the way up to the north. I'm fascinated by the Arctic regions.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you can get above the Arctic Circle, I love it up there. There's just some magic to it. The feeling
It's
of
just
it.
so different. Like, kind of
Totally.
the light doesn't look the same.
Yeah. It doesn't. I was
Yeah.
going to say it's the same thing. Like, there's something about the light.
Yeah.
And we're all photographers, so you're
Yeah.
always studying the light. Like, what's it doing? Like, even here, the light is thick here in Flagstaff. You're like, but up there, it's almost like this thin, wispy feeling to the light.
highly angled.
Ethereal, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of magical.
I want to go to the Arctic when it's cold. It was over 90 degrees every day that I was in the Arctic.
Yeah.
That's
too
weird.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I've never experienced that.
It could happen though. I mean, if you think about it, it's just the sun never shuts off,
Never
so
says.
it's just gonna keep heating.
Then
stuff up.
everything heat soaks. It does get. Yeah. Anyways.
Built by off-roaders for off-roaders. OnX Off-Road's Route Builder provides a new solution to your adventure planning with a Snap to functionality. Just draw a line with your cursor and the route will automatically snap to the road or trail. Hit save and the route will sync to your mobile device. Now you're ready to hit the trails. Go farther with OnX Off-Road's Route Builder.
If you want to hear me complain about that, listen to the Alaska episode.
So then you made it up to Nordcap.
Yep, Nordcap, and I wasn't sure. Like, So Nordkapp is the very top of
It's the furthest north you
you
can go in the world.
in the
road,
northern
on a
hemisphere
on a road.
Yeah, yeah. There's certainly places
Yeah.
above it, but yeah, it's by boat or plane or helicopter that you would get there.
Or like we did in Greenland, we drove Hiluxes up to it.
Yeah.
So we were almost 10 degrees further north latitude.
Yeah, so technically we've been the furthest, but that wasn't on a road.
It was not on a road. But that's what Nordkapp is, the furthest point north that you can drive on a road.
And I had no idea. You kind of, it's just this dot on the map, and you get there. You wonder if it will be like when you actually get there. Will it be as cool as you think it is? And of course, it's touristy and has some stuff. It's very remote. It's not, it's not really near anything.
Not at all.
You got to drive up there. But there just is something about these far places, these far dots that have magic to them as well.
I think people that go there, it's real. They have to have a reason. It's purposeful travel.
I had agreed, and historically it says that that's true too. Because when we got up there, I had no idea that there's like kings that have traveled there. There's deities of all kinds of, like, from all over the world have made their way to this point.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I didn't know. And they used to have to. It's right on this cliff edge. It's very, very steep cliff. And in the olden days, before the road was ever there, they would take a ship out to it, and then they would dock it. Then they'd row the people to the cliffs, and they had fixed ropes, and you had to climb the ropes. It wasn't anything like Everest or anything like that, but you had to use the ropes to get to the top to stand where you can stand today.
Huh.
And the kings would do that. And
Wow.
so I mean, this place has significance in history.
And it feels that way. It feels wild. I mean, you do park in a parking lot and you go to the visitor center and all that, but then when you walk out from there to the point, they've done a pretty good job of making it feel wild. You just have that one, art installation with the globe there. It looks like Atlas is holding it up or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a tripod or something like that with a metal globe on it.
Yeah.
And when we were there, it was nasty.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh man, it's too bad. It's just terrible weather. But it kind of actually made it very
That kind of makes it cool in a way, because it's an extreme place, and to experience it in extreme weather.
Yeah.
Trying to find the little positives in life.
Oh, for sure.
We
And it was
did
the same way when we were there.
Yeah.
It was totally socked in.
Nasty.
See, I'm really interested in Norway and Scandinavia. That's kind of where my family came from, part of the world, and
Yeah.
I want to do that as a grand touring trip, though. That's
It'd
kind
be
of
perfect for
my
that.
my thing, because from what I understand, it's very first world Norway, high humid
perfect roads?
like perfect
Perfect
roads,
roads,
that
yeah.
kind of thing.
But like the bridges are amazing,
Yeah.
and the tunnels are amazing, and
We counted 86 tunnels.
yeah.
Wow.
We went through 86 tunnels.
And you think about the kind of money that Norway has to just be like, we're going to build a tunnel like 12 miles across the ocean.
Oh, they have that. They have that fund from all the oil.
Exactly.
And it's their sovereign wealth fund. I think is like per capita,
It's gigantic.
like-
Yeah, it's gigantic.
yeah.
Yeah, they're one of the few countries with no debt.
Yeah.
No debt.
Norway is an amazing
Yeah,
place.
it's an unbelievable
How was the
place.
camping? So, wild any wild camping, or are you more? Cool.
Some, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's all kind of tucked away, just right off the main road here. But there's so much geography to the place that you kind of just go around here and tuck in, and you feel
You're good.
kind of you're good. You're by yourself.
I mean, like some nights were you in campsites that you kind of had to arrange? Like,
yeah, often.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
that's-
Europe.
that's
I mean,
kinda
it's
how
kind
it
of just
works.
to be expected.
Yeah.
And the further south you are in Norway, the more you have to do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you want to, because these campsites are at the end of the fjord, on the water.
Yeah.
And you go down and it's perfectly manicured grass, but you have this view of like one of the most beautiful things in the world.
I've really started to change my opinion on, I'm going to call them campgrounds, or even the occasional RV park. Sometimes it's just nice to know when you're going,
Yeah.
or where you're going, where you're sleeping,
Yeah.
when you're gone for so long. That is a stressor. So it's interesting that there are wild places that you can camp, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm the
It's
same
just part
way.
of that experience. It's just they don't have off-road routes with remote camping, really.
Yeah, we're like really
we're-
blessed that
we're
we get to do that
fortunate.
in America. I mean, there's obviously a lot of places in the world that you can do that.
But I like the fact that you don't have to do that. It's like overlanding, and I think that's interesting, is that a lot of times people think that you have to be off-road and camping to be overlanding. You can actually completely remove both of those components and still overland around the world. You could stay in hostels, stay in lodges, stay in people's homes, and drive around the world without camping. And you could also drive around the world very easily without ever going onto a dirt road. So, and it wouldn't mean that you were any less of an overlander. So
that's what I've, in my, comparatively limited experience in Africa to you, that's what I found there as well.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the segue.
No.
Oh.
we should. Yeah, I do like the idea of segueing, but we should go through what were your takeaways from the trip. What were the things that worked great? What were the things that didn't work so well that you would do different?
The things that worked great, the three truck team, 8-man team was good. Our camera work worked really good. On the technical side, everything seemed to work really well. Being able to live in camper systems is definitely how you will thrive in those countries, because you can do it all. Everybody is living out of rooftop tents or ground tents or whatever, but the weather is so wild. It's hot and cold and rainy, windy, all that. So having the ability to live in the trucks was really nice.
Get a good night's sleep.
Because
otherwise it compounds.
Yeah. So we were gone for the 8 weeks, and we were thriving to the very end. We weren't exhausted when we went home. We were like, man, I feel like we keep going forever. So I think the truck choices and how they were built was really good. We were eating well, sleeping well, felt great. The travel there is extremely easy. It's all open borders. You drive through them like you go to Norway to Sweden to Finland, like you go through Montana to Wyoming to Colorado.
Right.
There's nothing to it.
It's all Schengen agement, all open. Just move through it.
Easy. It's super easy.
See a bunch of closed up border posts.
Yeah, it's just not. No, hopefully they never need them again.
Yes, let's hope so. Yeah.
And I went into the Norway, Finland, Sweden section knowing that it wasn't going to be a lot of off-road travel. It wasn't going to be very.
It doesn't mean that it's not incredibly beautiful.
Yeah. Totally.
And we had been warned about it, by all kinds of people that had traveled there, and so we set the expectation that we're going here to really experience culture, history, and see the beauty for what it is, and just love being there in that part of the world. And that was the best, because we weren't like, oh man, there's just not enough dirt roads out here. We never had that.
Set the expectation.
Yeah, you knew.
Yeah, and we just loved it the whole time, and we knew that by the time we got to Iceland, we'd have that. It's coming.
Yeah.
And then, so our trucks were definitely overbuilt for being in Norway and Europe there, but they were perfectly built by the time that we got to Iceland.
Yeah, sure.
We could do anything we wanted, and they weren't overbuilt for Iceland either. I think the 35-inch tire was just right. The suspension was rad. The live-in systems, because it was September when we were in Iceland.
Sure.
It was getting cold. The heaters were nice.
Yeah.
I think overall it was one of our best run expeditions yet.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what changes will you make for future trips that you learned from that one? Any adjustments?
The only thing that we've done internally is we've gone back down to a 7-man team going into the Africa trip, which will leave room for a guide.
Okay.
Having Torfi in Iceland was remarkable.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
I definitely want to have more local people travel with us more often. I
think that's really cool.
Probably missing out by not having someone local. And I remember when we went through Russia with E7, we had Andre with us. And that was the first time that I traveled anywhere that had, a fixer or a guide with us. And Russia required him to be with us, right?
It did not require.
Oh, it did not?
Oh no, but that was a requirement that I had. It was like I told the rest of the team, I'm like, we're not going across Russia with it, because they just don't have a lot of English speakers.
Yeah, totally,
and it makes
the right move.
It makes it very, very challenging. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but it made it a lot more enjoyable, because we could communicate with people.
Yeah,
we had a translator.
Bridge,
we had a translator that we can communicate with the locals, and he could fix things with the police and everything else like that.
So that's the first time I saw that.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I look back, that enriched our experience a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Because, It's about the travel and the experiences that you're coming out with.
Yeah.
That's right.
And they compound that. You
Yeah.
know, you're going to learn so much more, like just riding around with a guy like that and he being able to tell you everything.
Yeah, and in the same way people think overlanding is this, you have to be wild camping, you have to be off-road. There's also this kind of element of it, I feel, where people think that they have to be leading it, they have to be in control, they have to be discovering. We found in our travels some of the best trips, some of the best food we found, some of the best places we found, you know, they come from local knowledge, and it's important.
There's a mindset shift that I see between what we call domestic overlanding and international overlanding.
Yeah.
Domestic overlanding, we're really focused on our own journey, getting out, being our own little self-contained unit to escape.
Yeah.
As soon as, for me, you cross the border and now you are a guest in another country, the perspective of you having to do everything really does kind of go away. It's fun to be self-reliant.
Yeah.
But it's even more fun to have someone there to take you through things.
Yeah.
And to experience the culture.
To experience it.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great way to look at it. In the desert Southwest, or in Baja probably even, you're kind of escaping to the wild places. Whereas when I'm in some new country, I want to try the food. I want to see the museums.
Yeah.
I want to meet the families. I do. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So,
Like first time I did Southern Africa, we were hell bent. We're not going to have a guide. We're going to do this ourselves. We're going to go find the animals.
yeah.
Well,
good luck
it turns
with that,
out it turns out if you don't speak Swahili and you can't be on that radio and listen to 12 other guys speaking Swahili, you're not going to see the animals.
Yeah. It's
You know,
pretty tough.
like
It's
I mean,
pretty tough.
it's important.
I'll take note of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not going to
maybe
learn Swahili in time.
maybe these local trips are to escape and the international trips are to connect.
Yeah.
And that's what we can do when we go to a new place. We can be the guest of that country and connect with those people.
Yep.
I like that. I like all of that.
I learned that lesson also in Russia, because Russia was the first time that Scott had invited me to come film on the E7 section of Russia. And so this was like my first big international travel trip. We were gone for 3 weeks crossing. Wow, this is amazing. And we stayed in people's houses. And I remember the two Andres in the Pole of Cold. Where was
that's
that?
right. Tom Tour.
Tom Tour. We were in this house, and these two Russians were just at the dinner table, where I'm sleeping on the floor like a little kid, listening to Grandpa and Dad talk in the kitchen, kind of, and they're over, I don't know what they're saying, and they're sharing vodka together, and then they went and they got knives and they traded knives at the table, and I'm just sitting there like watching this whole cultural experience happen, and I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, and
This
the dude
is
had
just
like a
the
tank
best.
in his
There was
yard.
a tank in his yard. Yeah.
He was so proud of his tank.
Yeah.
Just like the dude just had a tank.
It's
sitting
amazing.
there.
A tracked tank.
Yeah, exactly. It was pretty
So
funny.
it's like, I want more of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Tanks,
there's the
me
remote
too.
things and there's the camping and all that stuff. But that's those things that I look back and I'm very fond of in my memories.
I think one of my favorite things from that trip was you just seeing how insane the driving was. Like you having to recalibrate to like, we have a good chance of dying.
Yeah.
Like you're in Russia, it's not gonna be some bandito or whatever else. It is gonna be that you are going to die on the highway.
Yes.
Like that's the only thing in Russia that's gonna kill you is some dude in a 7 Series going 160 kilometers an hour.
It was insane.
Yeah, it was
and I don't
insane.
think I've been anywhere since
Yeah.
that is that insane.
No, the top 5 times in all of my travels that I nearly died, 3 of them were in Russia.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And Clay was in the car with me for several of them.
Yeah.
Well, remember the bridge where the guy
Yes.
was passing on the bridge.
Yes.
Like I don't know how I didn't run into the
burned in my
guardrail.
brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when we were coming around the corner, I'm drifting sideways, and then here comes a Audi drifting sideways the other way.
The other way.
And I did like this momentary Scandinavian flick that like brought me around.
Yeah.
And Clay was like looking over at me like, what just
you're
happened?
just in the wrong side of the road in the wrong seat,
Yeah, you are.
right-hand drive, and you're just like, ah.
You were staring at that car
Coming at you.
Sounds fun, but I might take the train.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what's next, Clay. We're super excited to hear about what's coming up.
Yeah, we just announced for season 6 we're heading to Southern Africa. So we'll be South Africa, Lesotho, Botswana, Namibia right now. We might travel to other places. We'll just see. We kind of got to get boots on the ground there and just see how it all feels.
Yeah, Swaziland will be another one
and
to
Swaziland,
consider.
I would love to get there.
I'll send you some tracks on that.
Love knock out more countries if you can.
Yeah, sure.
Just to even be there for a day or experience something for a little while.
And they're different. They really are different. Namibia is so different from Swaziland, both in super cool ways.
Yeah, it's cool. I've only been to Uganda. Shelly my wife has been around, Botswana and Zimbabwe and stuff. But she was there with like Land Rover team 5 years ago or something. But
with
we
the
don't
Hollands
really,
or something. I think,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So we haven't really been here.
Yeah.
And this year we're taking my whole family. All my boys are going.
That's awesome.
Cyrus, my oldest, will be with me at least the entire time. But the other 2 boys, I don't know. I haven't decided. At this point, I'm like, let's all go for the whole time.
Yeah.
It's only 2 months.
Yep.
Let's do it.
And look at what they're going to be learning.
Can you
Like, it's
imagine?
one thing to look at an elephant in a textbook. It's another thing to actually sit there and
To come
observe it.
across an elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never had these experiences yet. And I know you guys have. And I can see it in your eyes.
Well, only
You're
a
like,
little
to come
bit for me
across
compared
an
to him,
elephant.
but-
You're just like, I'm intimidated already.
It's amazing. They are so big.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
I can't wait. So, yeah, we'll be traveling. We want to see animals, of course, but we want to get remote. We want to try to see far off places. I want to be off the grid as much as I can because that to me is the big adventure of it all.
And there's plenty of opportunity for that.
Yeah. I've been reading or listening to The River of Doubt. Have you?
I've heard of that book.
Teddy Roosevelt's epic voyage down the River of Doubt.
Yeah.
And it's got me jonesing for a big adventure. So we'll see. Not too
Yeah,
big.
he almost died on that one.
Very close. And
Yeah.
I don't
And his
want
son was with him,
to
wasn't he?
epic that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He basically was telling his son, like, this is how I want you to handle my body and everything else.
Exactly.
And it was like, yeah.
They're
Cool,
all-
thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah, and he wasn't in great shape either. He was in super
Yeah.
tough shape.
Older in life. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm kind of
So you're gonna
this
start in South
nostalgic feel I
Africa?
want to go hit up.
You're going to start in South Africa? Yeah. And what
Durban.
time of year do you think you're going to be there?
So we'll be there in a month and a half. So July through
Oh, so you're leaving,
trucks have already
Yeah.
shipped.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we've talked about. There's a good chance we might have another podcast together in South Africa.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So
Let's do that if we can.
It'd be
make
perfect time for like Botswana. Everything
it's
will be
all
flooded.
It'll all be perfect.
Yeah, and not all of our trucks. So we're traveling in the fleet is our 2021 Tacoma. It's not the new Tacoma. Couldn't get it in time just due to manufacturing. And then our Tundra that we took to Norway, and the new Sequoia. So we've got a hybrid on this trip. Yeah.
I'm really interested in
throw it in the
Sequoia.
deep.
Like,
Oh,
I keep
it'll be
looking
fun.
at them when I drive by the Toyota dealer on my way home, and I'm like, oh, I kind of like that.
Yeah, the Sequoia has a lot of
Like
potential.
it has a bit of baggage, kind of with like the soccer mom car.
Well, the previous generation
thing.
just wasn't a great car, but the new one is.
The new one
one's a
looks
great car.
fantastic. I mean, I don't really know what the difference is between that and a Land Cruiser is anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking
Same chassis.
same chassis,
Just a little longer.
yeah.
Yep. Same componentry.
So you could
same
almost
engine.
argue that the only way, like, let's say a 200 series got better would be maybe a little bit more room inside, because they're not that long actually. They're
No.
wide,
Only 112-inch wheelbase on
so
the
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, these are pretty long. Like when you sit in a Sequoia and you look in the rearview mirror, it's like, whoa, the back glass is quite a ways back there.
'Cause they're
It kind of
seven-seaters.
Feels like a Suburban. Like if you were
Yeah.
to look in the back of a Suburban, it's pretty big. So the turning radius and stuff is reduced.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of its weaker areas. Now that we've lifted it and it's on 35-inch tires and stuff, the ground clearance and all
It's
that.
gonna be so
fine.
good. It's
Oh,
gonna
it'll
be so good. For
It'll
the
be
trip.
great for Africa.
So we the smaller tank is what we're considering is probably our biggest weakness right now because as we've done short distance trips, as soon as you hit the interstate, you're not really in the hybrid. You're not utilizing hybrid, so now you're down to a 21-gallon tank and you're just burning up fuel.
Yep.
So we're carrying a fuel trailer due to recommendations. So we had to figure out a
put
way.
the trailer behind the Sequoia?
Sequoia.
Well, so there's an interesting upside to that. And this is where you can take advantage of that hybrid powertrain, is that anytime you're descending, you're regenning power back into the battery system for you to be then able to use it when you climb.
Yeah.
So hybrids or electric vehicles actually do very well off-road. When there's, like, if you're on level ground with sand, bad news, right? Because you're not getting any of the benefit. But if you're climbing and descending and climbing and descending, you're constantly regenning power back into the vehicle that you can then use to make the next climb with. So you'll find that it actually does pretty well in those scenarios.
Yeah, I'm really excited to figure out the fuel formula.
Yeah.
And like, how does this work? Where are the advantages and disadvantages of this? It's a massive experiment.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
And which is fun.
Yeah, and you're just, other than the Skeleton Coast, you're just not going to have an infrastructure problem. There just isn't that much.
And I think there's
distance.
fuel in Moby Bay now.
Yeah.
There's fuel. Like, you'll be fine, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, unless you're just doing the really remote stuff, which, that you probably need 400 or 500 kilometer range, 600 kilometer range maybe.
How big is the tank?
21 gallons.
21 gallons.
Oh,
of
that's Paquito.
Yeah, it's Paquito for a big truck. Yeah.
So we built an AT trailer. Had a trailer from Mario, one of the last Chasers.
Oh man, Chasers are so classic.
Yeah, so
That's perfect.
It
Nice
was-
and light.
we ordered I think it was from one of the truck surplus sites. We ordered a 100-gallon toolbox fuel tank.
Oh, well, that's smart, because then you don't have
Melted
to
it
carry
on there.
all of these jerry cans and think of all the mounts for all of those things.
Yeah, and we learned these things in Greenland. Just pull up and fuel up.
Yep.
And instead of having to put all that weight across all the different trucks and figure out those systems, we put one big tank, which your eggs are in one basket, so to speak. But
No, it should be fine.
we should be fine. We beefed up the axles and we got extra hubs. We got extra shocks.
Did you remove the lid then?
So the lid has, in the top of the lid is a toolbox. So it doesn't look like a fuel tank.
No, I mean
sorry.
the lid of the trailer. The Chaser, does it have its
But
own?
but no. So this is just a flatbed version of it.
Oh,
It's the
now I understand.
flatbed.
Yeah.
That's
I
the one
called
that
Mario
everybody
I
wants.
want one
That's the
so
one-
bad.
That's
I
the one
know.
that everybody wants.
I called
Is
Mario.
the AT flatbed.
Yeah.
in the Chaser.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's that many out there.
There's not. There's not.
I have like 2 friends that have them, and I'm like,
I know.
you better let me know when you want to sell that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, you haul your motorcycles, haul
Yeah.
whatever you want. Go to Home Depot. Works for all that
It
stuff.
does it all, and it weighs nothing.
Yeah, they're really lightweight.
So-
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great choice.
We kept it super light. It's under GVW for its weight ratings.
And put
with
it
all
put
the
it at
fuel
the
on
back of the convoy, because the one thing in Africa that gets you in trouble with the trailer, charging elephants.
Gotcha.
And make
You can't back
what?
up.
That's right. You cannot back up fast enough.
Oh.
So when they start
call.
trumpeting and charging, keep some space, and then allow those first 2 vehicles to give that animal the space that it needs.
That's your buffer.
That's right. So if you got your trailer in the front, and here comes the elephant out of the tall grass, staring you down on the road, you're just not going to be able to back up quickly enough.
Yeah, and that's such a short wheelbase trailer.
Yeah,
that you don't back
exa-
that
it-
thing up fast.
It's not fast.
You just don't back it up. You just make a U-turn.
So
yeah,
and
you have to just. You really would just have
Yeah.
to turn and burn.
Yeah.
which hopefully you'd be able to, right? So yeah,
Yikes.
just stick that trailer at the back.
Yeah. Well, we wanted an adventure, and it sounds like we're going to get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Africa is the place.
Yeah.
It is the place.
It's
In my experiment,
It's become
everybody's
kind
got-
of my new happy place.
Everybody's got.
I mean,
their
you can
own.
camp, or you can stay in a 5-star hotel anywhere. I mean,
they
you just have
rosé in
so
the
many
entire,
options.
They make rosé there.
Well, and it's South African, and it's so cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
On my honeymoon, they're handing me bottles of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Wow.
yeah. Drinking rosé in the back of a safari car while looking at like leopards
Yeah. It's kind of
straight
amazing.
out of the bottle. That was a great honeymoon.
I hope to be drinking a rosé looking out of the back of my car
Yeah,
in Africa.
let's do it.
At
You
leopards.
should.
Yeah, so we're excited.
Well, that sounds fantastic. So you've got 3 vehicles going, you got a trailer going, you got a 7-person crew with the opportunity to add some local guides along to support,
Yeah.
which I think will make a big difference. The one thing that I noticed with locals is that their vision is attuned to the animals. So like when we would go with Jess from Easy On out on a safari, I would not be seeing anything. And he'd be like, "Oh, there's the leopard right underneath the bush over there." And then he'd point, and I'd be looking, and I have really good eyesight. And I'm looking, and then finally it would whip a tail or something, and then I would see it. But he saw it just driving down the road. So they're really well, the locals that get into the bush a lot are well tuned to seeing the animals. Like you see a deer or an elk because you're used to your environment. Like when the animal stands out, you become attuned to it. So the locals really help for that.
Ah, cool. It's gonna be good.
Sounds amazing. Amazing. Well, what else is going on, Clay? You've got the Overlander Network.
Yeah, so this
is
year,
up and running.
Yeah, we've kind of done some business restructuring with XOverland. So we've had the Overlander Network, we've had the Overlander clothing line, we've had all kinds of different things that we were trying to do. And this year we just said, you know what, we're going to pull it all under one house, all one brand, manage one thing. So we pulled the network. It's now not all the facing and skinning of the apps and stuff has changed, but it's the XOverland Network now, and XOverland's website, XOverland Film Fest, all that's all under one house.
Nice.
Which when we did that, it was like a breath of fresh air. Like, okay, we're focusing on one thing. We got it dialed. So that's kind of the big news. We're working hard on the network.
I just saw that you just added another series for travel.
We've got four new series. We've got that we're working on right now. So we got Death to Glory. Richard and Ashley are out shooting right now. They produce an episode about once a month or so as they travel and do their thing. And then we've got a 8-part cooking show coming out with Gone Dirtin, called Gone Cooking.
Cool.
And we're having fun. People. Yeah, and it's just trying to build the best high-end content that we possibly can on the network, because that's the place where it can get rewarded. Building really high-end content for YouTube, it's painful.
YouTube just seems exhausting these days.
It is exhausting.
It's the and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and it's exhausting. Yeah,
we call it the hamster wheel.
Yeah,
and you're always
wheel of death.
Yeah, just chasing everything, and so really high-end quality stuff isn't rewarded. So we're trying to be that place and produce really good online content, but it's behind a paywall.
Yeah,
but that's how it gets done.
Yeah. Well, you can't. It's not fair for people to expect you to do it for free because it costs a lot of money to produce high.
Well, I know I need to get my subscription going, and so should you.
Yeah. So we got all kinds of stuff going.
You guys have a great podcast. You guys are doing great on that.
Oh, thank you.
Check
the
out
podcast
the XOverland podcast as well. So you guys are doing awesome work. It's always just such a pleasure to see you, Clay, and see your family and see how well you guys are doing.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. You too. And I haven't seen you in a while, man.
It's been too long.
We've been chatting back and forth, but it's good to sit down together.
Yeah. So. Clay, anything else you want to share with the audience? Any updates you want to give us?
No, we're just kind of cranking on, working hard to build the best brand we possibly can. Thanks to everybody who watches our stuff, listens to our things, and encourages us and gives us good feedback on stuff. I really appreciate that. Thanks for letting us do what we do, and just very thankful for everybody out there listening.
Yeah, well, we're thankful for you, Clay, and we're thankful for all of you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.